Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to talk about another very important example for template driven form, where we will be discussing how to apply custom validator directive in order to perform the validation. Okay, so this thing we are going to discuss in this session, and by the end of the session you will be able to understand what is the best way to apply custom validator directive to a template driven form, how we can implement the thing in a very basic to advanced level, and all the basic stuff. But before we start discussing this thing, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow it sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being we are just mainly focusing on how to use custom validator directive. But prior to that, you should know what is the template driven form, what are the basic other things related to it. Okay, so in this session, before we proceed with this session, you can refer the Sharmit digital course book, which is freely available in the description box. So from there, you can take a reference and it will give you the idea how we there are around 3000 plus free resources, so you can take a reference from it. Okay, all right, now we are good to go with this example. And here, you can see, firstly I'm in app.component.html file, where we have this first heading that shows Angular course by Sharmit, main heading, and then we have second heading that shows template driven form example in Angular. Okay, now next what we will do, we will create one form here, but before that let's understand the requirement. So to explain the requirement, I'll write some comment here. Okay, so what we are going to do, we will create one input field with a name username. Okay, so suppose this particular let me show. So suppose from here to here we have input field. Okay, just a box. Now in this box, what we are going to do, we want, if user writes something like this ABC, it is fine, because there is no space in between the letters, right? And this is just a box. Okay, but so we will consider this as a valid scenario. So this is a valid scenario. Likewise, if I write scenario, maybe I can write it in next line. Yeah, so this is a valid scenario. Next valid scenario is when you write one ABC 1 2 3. This is also valid. Okay, it can contain numbers, but it can't contain spaces. So these are the valid scenarios. Now what are the invalid scenarios? Invalid scenarios are if we write something like this ABC. So this is an invalid. Why? Because it contains space. Likewise, if you are using number, that is fine, but if you are using number with a space, it will cause error and it will become a invalid. So this is the requirement of our session. What we are going to build, we will write an application, and all these validations should be performed only through the custom validator directive. Okay, all right, so I think now we are good to go ahead. And here you can see we have firstly this form. So I just simply created one form, and I have assigned this form with the template reference variable, that is my form ng form. And then we have this label which will help us to show that this field is particular for the username. So we have this label, right? After this label, we are collecting the input, and to collect the input we are using the input element. So you can see input tag, and in input tag we have, firstly we will define the type. The type of this input is text. Then we have name, which will be considered as username. Then we have ng model for Angular ng model. Okay, then we have required, and we have no space. Now the question is, what is no space? We haven't used no space earlier, right? Although it is a directive, but we are not aware from where it is coming. Required, we know that it is a by default directive. No space is the thing that we have created here. So you can see we have this directive no space. Then after this no space, we have template reference variable assigned to this ng model. Now the question comes, how we will create this no space. So to create this no space, you can click on terminal, new terminal, then this window will open, and here you have to write the command, either this ng for Angular, G generate D directive, and then the name of the directive, for example, no space. Okay, so this is the command, or maybe you can write it in a full form, ng generate directive no space. So both will work, but usually developers go with the shorter command. Okay, so when you hit the enter on this command, what it will do, it will create two files for you. First is no space directive.spec.ts, and the second one is no space .directive.ts. So in spec.ts we will do nothing, like it will be the same file. We are not going to touch it anywhere because this is something that is related to the testing file, so we will skip it for now. The second file is no space directive.ts, where we have like created this entire logic. Okay, so whatever the file you have got default, maybe you can replace it with this code. I'll explain you the code. So like these are the thing you can see. Firstly, it is importing the directive from Angular core, then it imports some required thing like no validator, no ng validators, abstract control, validation errors, so these kind of thing. Then this is a selector which we will refer for. This is the name you can say of this particular directive. So whenever you are using it with this name, so you can see in HTML also we are using the same thing. Fine. Then in providers we have mentioned ng validators, no space validator directive, multi true. Fine. Then we have this export class where we have no space validator directive implements validator, and then in this validate we will write here control abstract control validation errors null. Okay, now inside this what we are doing, we have defined one constant and value, and in this constant value we are checking for the we have assigning the space. So basically what it will do, it will check if the value dot includes space, then in that case return no space as true. Now don't get confused between no space. No space true means it contains space. Although we can maybe we should use some other name, otherwise I think you might get confused with this thing. But don't worry, if it is returning true, that means there is a error object. Okay, it contains a space. Otherwise we are returning as null. So basically same as required, like we will check if it is returning true or false. If it is returning true, we will show the message, otherwise we will skip it. Clear? So I think this logic is quite clear to all of you. Now let's go to app.component.html file and complete the remaining HTML part. So till here we have discussed user name control ng model we have assigned. Then we created the div where we are checking for ng if. For this ng if and for this ng form we have imported few things in component.ts file. I'll tell you in when we will be discussing that file. But here we are just checking username control dot invalid, username control dot touch, style as color red. Then we have two paragraph. First paragraph is showing error required, username is required. Second, username control errors, no space, spaces are not allowed in the username. Okay, so it's a simple and straightforward. You can see I have not even added the button because I don't want to show that process, that is already covered. So I just covered the required thing in this example so that you can clearly understand it. Now we are good with this. So let's quickly go to app.component.ts file. Here these things you should import. First is forms module, ngIf, ngClass if you are using, and no space validator directive, which is nothing but this directive. Clear? Alright, so I think now we are good with this application. Let's run the application, test the scenarios. ngserve -open, enter. Just wait for a few seconds and then it will show you the output in the browser screen. So let me wait for a few seconds. Yeah, so this is the application, Angular codes by Sharmit, template driven form example in Angular, custom validator directive, and one horizontal row. Now let's try this. So in username, if I write ABC, it is not showing any kind of error. But if I put space and D, it will show spaces are not allowed in username. So this is exactly what we are looking for, right? ABC space D. Likewise, if I clear this up and put my cursor outside of this box, let me clear first. So you can see it shows username is required. Okay, so that means our application is working as expected. Both validations are performed perfectly. Okay, now I think this session is clear to all of you. in the next session we will discuss few more things. Meanwhile, if you have any question, queries or suggestion related to this session, feel free to reach out to me through comment section. I would be more than happy to answer all your questions. Okay, so yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session with new topics. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.